Good afternoon, Fresno and District 6. This is Nick Richardson, Fresno City Councilman, and I've been asked a lot lately, what is my position on Prop 50? So I'm sure you'll hear a lot of things through the news media or on social media about Prop 50 and what it means, and probably hear some skewed information from both the far right and the far left. So I wanted to have a little bit of a nuanced conversation and explain to you everything that goes into Prop 50 and then my personal stance on it. So Proposition 50 will be on the ballots in November, and it's a yes or no vote. Now, what Prop 50 would do is redraw congressional maps in California before the 2026 election, the midterms, right, for a 3-year period that would happen before our regular redistricting period, which is scheduled in line with the national census. The census is every 10 years. So essentially, this would be done about 3 years prior to when the normal redistricting would happen. Now, the yes crowd will tell you that Texas just redistricted, shifting federal congressional seats to the right, a couple more Republican seats in that state than there were previous. The California version of the same process could shift California seats to the left, thereby maybe canceling out what Texas did. The no on Prop 50 crowd will tell you that the proposed districts would further lessen red congressional seats, Republican congressional seats, in the state of California, and would separate cities into more rural districts. A couple other things to understand with this. So another big change that would happen in addition to the changing timeline is the fact that instead of the nonpartisan or bipartisan commission that California has to redraw all of our congressional seats, not favoring one political party or the other, this new drawn map of the new congressional districts would be procured, designed, and approved by the state legislature. And the state legislature is a vast majority of blue seats or Democratic seats, and a minority, a vast minority, or a super minority, if you will, of red or Republican seats already. They would be the ones who would be designing, and the map's already been designed, you'll find it in your ballot information handbooks, and instituting this new map for the 3-year period. A couple important things to understand. There was some legislation put forward previously by a Republican representative and now most recently by a Democratic senator from the state of California that want to pass federal laws that can tell the federal government when to go into individual states and designate how that state can vote for their representatives, who they can send to Washington, where they're counted, how they're counted, and exactly whom can vote for them. The federal government. Now, based on the Supremacy Clause in the 10th Amendment, any right not specifically given to the federal government belongs to the states. This would constitute D.C. being able to go in, regardless of the president or which administration were in power, to Texas or California or Maine or Nebraska, and tell them when they're allowed to have their census, when they're allowed to redistrict their congressional seats. The California Constitution already allows for the current 10-year census and redistricting process. This would be updating that or changing the California Constitution to allow this to exist outside of the normal cycle. Gerrymandering, if you're not familiar, is a process by which folks will go and draw jurisdictional lines to design districts to where the elected officials are picking the voters instead of the voters picking the elected officials. Sometimes you'll see really bizarre designs for districts, some that look like animals, some that are really stretched around, and some with 2 distinct or 3 distinct areas that are only tied together by a roadway or 2. Not really how the intent of this democratic process was supposed to pan out. Now finally, what will we see? Well, I'm sure you'll see some folks on the no on 50 side come out and tell you that this will be the end of democracy writ large if this passes. You'll probably see some folks on the yes on 50 side come out and tell you that we are saving democracy by passing Prop 50, so you must vote yes. I don't think either of those are the entire truth. What it would really mean for us as California is we would lose some of the very few Republican congressional seats that we have in Fresno, representing a large portion of the population here in our state. We would be changing the bipartisan or nonpartisan nature of who draws our district lines. And in addition, this would be a 3-year change ahead of the normal scheduled 10-year change that we already have. So personally, my vote for the Central Valley, I will be no on 50. And I'm voting no on Prop 50 because I think that the nonpartisan standard that we have set for ourselves and approved through the California Constitution should stand. I understand why Prop 50 has come up. Anytime there's an attempt to change, amend, or update a constitution of a state or a country, that's got to be decided by the people. So if Prop 50 were proposed every single year, I would vote no on it every single year. But I think that putting it out to the people is the right way to go. The wrong way to go, I can tell you, is having the federal government come down to California, or any state for that matter, and telling them, in direct violation of the 10th Amendment, exactly how they need to run their elections. DC doesn't understand California. DC doesn't understand Fresno. We've got to stand up for ourselves, because we know that Sacramento and the federal government, as we have changing administrations of one party to the next, are not going to understand the way that we live and the things that we value here in the Central Valley. So from me to you, make sure you do your homework. Make sure you vote based on your values. I won't tell you what to vote, but I will tell you that for me and for the values that I think need to be preserved here in the Central Valley, no on Prop 50 is the way I'll be leaning. Thanks.